Well, if you've been watching the channel, you'll know that I've been on a little bit of a sci-fi kick recently. And the latest one that I decided to read was William Gibson's Neuromancer. I reviewed one of his other books called Burning Chrome, which is a compilation of short stories. And one of the remarks I made on that book was that, in general, William Gibson, I find, is very hard to read. His style is very kind of scattered. It feels very stream of consciousness, which when you read it carefully, it's actually very good. I know it's very good. I find it very difficult to read because a lot of the time he sort of starts off a scene with a sound. It came from over there. We didn't know what. There was a flash of blue light. There was the smell of burning scar tissue, and as he turned right, he noticed that his ear had been missing. And then, like a page or two later, you find out what happened. Okay, and that's a style. And I feel a lot of the time like maybe I'm not quite getting what he's trying to say. But it kind of reads like the Bourne Identity plays on camera, if that makes sense. Because when you watch the Bourne Identity and fight scenes that are shot like that, you kind of don't really know what's happening in the moment. And then a minute or two later, as you think back over what you just went through, you sort of put the pieces together and you realize what happened, right? That's really how William Gibson reads. It's good. It's very difficult for me to read that. And it's very frustrating. And I found it, I didn't really want to read this book halfway through. Because I knew what Burning Chrome would be like, and that ended up being exactly how this was. Now, the reason I read it, though, is because this is one of the most important sci-fis that you can read in the West. The film series The Matrix is heavily influenced by this book. Now, this book was written, forgot the date. It was written in 1984. 1984, so 15 years before The Matrix was made. And the influence is all over it. I mean, the story is about a man named Case. Case has this Russian myotoxin that's in his system, and it's causing it makes it so that he can't jack into the Matrix. Which, if you've seen the Matrix movie, you know exactly what that means. Except it's not that he has a port in his head. I think it's just electrodes on the side of his head. I don't even know if he has implants. Half the time, I can't understand what's happening. So anyway, he jacks into the Matrix, which is something he's become kind of addicted to. But because he has this myotoxin in his system, he's not able to do that, and he really kind of craves it like it's a drug. He meets this woman named Molly, who kind of plays like the Trinity character, very similar to the Trinity in the Matrix, who offers to help him by introducing him to this guy named Armitage, who gives him a job to do, and also installs poison packets in his body while he's asleep, so that if he doesn't do the job, the poison packets will kill him. If he does do the job, he's going to cure him. So at any rate, the whole story is this sort of AI heist, where things aren't quite as they seem. Armitage is not who he seems. There's this overarching narrative of this big AI brain that wants to merge with another AI brain so that it can achieve sentience, right? And that you can kind of see the makings of the Matrix, where in the movie The Matrix, the AI has become sentient and is just using it in order to make, batteries out of people, basically. That's not at all what this book is about. So it's not like, if you watch The Matrix, it doesn't ruin this book. This book is very different. And I won't spoil the end. So again, the style is very similar. One of the things too, which is similar to his short stories, is that everything is very sensory in this book. And one of the things that struck me, and I'm going to read it to you, it's on page 209, and this happens a few times, where so one of the things that Case does quite often in this book is he jacks into the Molly character so that he can see as though he's Molly. He sort of feels her as she feels things. He becomes her, right? He kind of possesses her, and he can feed information to her. So as she's going around hacking things, he can tell her passwords and stuff like that, right? And so he experiences what she's experiencing, and it's very detailed. So here's a paragraph, and I'm going to read what Gibson writes here. Okay, so let me see. What's a good... Okay. Her hiding place proved to be a service tunnel of some kind. She crawled out through a hinged ornate grill of tarnished brass. He saw enough of her arms and hands to know that she wore the polycarbon suit again. Under the plastic, he felt the familiar tension of thin, tight leather. There was something slung under her arm in a harness or holster. She stood up, unzipped the suit, and touched the checkered plastic of a pistol grip. The very kind of sensory experience is all over this book. Every time he jacks into Molly's body, he feels like he's a woman. And if you know anything about the Wachowskis, well, obviously The Matrix has this sort of leather aesthetic to it. Matrix 1 and 2, and I guess 3 also have this, leathery aesthetic to it. When you're reading this, you kind of feel that same aesthetic. And perhaps the Wachowskis, who decided to undergo some kind of gender transformation surgery, maybe they connected with this for that reason. I'm just going to leave that there. It's very visceral when you read it. And I couldn't help but wonder if, there was a deeper connection between the Wachowskis and this work. Rather than just them thinking this is a cool idea, there might have been something a little bit deeper. The reason I'm reading these sci-fis right now is because I'm writing a sci-fi. If you come over to my Discord, and I'll pop the Discord link in the description. If you come over to the Discord, I talk about the sci-fi I'm writing every now and then. I want to read the good sci-fis, the seminal sci-fi works. I find that this is a very important piece of sci-fi for two reasons. The first one is that it sort of shows what people were thinking about. People like Gibson were thinking about in the 1980s. They really thought that the future was implants. They thought that there would be all these kind of body modifications probably today. They thought that would happen. When really today, that's not really happening. The most you get is sort of Neuralink. And that might become mainstream. If people talk about getting chips embedded in their hands and whatnot for identification, I don't know how mainstream that is. Doesn't seem like many people have that. It seems like it's more of a thing for pets, where it's just an identification marker in case your pet goes missing. In terms of these body mods that would actually improve the human experience, doesn't seem like that's really panned out. I'm not convinced that it ever will. I could be wrong. But that's what was going on at the time. The other thing that was going on at the time was the internet. Back in 1984, there was the internet. The internet did exist, except it was in the form of BBSs. You took your phone line, you plugged it into, you basically took your phone and plugged it into your computer, and you dialed up to a BBS server, and you could sort of communicate with the server, which then communicated with other people, and it was the early form of the internet. It was kind of localized, and then eventually in the late 90s, it all got connected, and now we have the internet, right? And it seems like the inspiration for The Matrix was very, Gibson sort of anticipates that, kind of. But The Matrix is the culmination of that whole process. So it is kind of interesting to see how tech thinking has changed ever since, the early 80s. Because it's been 41 years since this was published. It's a very good book. I won't deny that. It's just if you have a more concrete way of reading, like I do, if you prefer things, if you prefer your hard sci-fi to have facts and details and things laid out so that when you're imagining the world, you kind of trust that the world you're imagining is the world that the author is writing about, then this is very difficult to read. You're much better reading off, Cixin Liu's three-body problem, where when he describes a location, you can see it. He's very clear about what that place looks like and how things work, how people move through space. It's all very clear. There's another one. I'm reading this one right now. What did I do with it? What happened to that book? I'm so disorganized. It's over here. I got it. Hold on. Blind Sight. This one is also a hard sci-fi. I heard about this through Neil Blomkamp's Rogan episode. This is also very clearly written, and you know, if you like hard sci-fi, but you don't want the kind of stream of consciousness stuff that William Gibson's known for, then Blindside is extremely good so far anyway. So I don't think, you know, Johnny Mnemonic is the prequel to Neuromancer. And there's the short story version of it in Burning Chrome. It's very good, but I don't think I can read Gibson anymore. It's just too much of a workout. But maybe you would enjoy Gibson. Maybe that's the kind of stuff you like. And again, I do think that this feels like a Bourne Identity fight scene. And there's some great action scenes in this also. And it's all very sensory. It's not fact-based, right? It's like it sort of details the ballet of movement and the repercussions of bullets hitting bodies, and it feels like Eon Flux meets Bourne Identity, you know. And so, seminal work, difficult to read for me. Maybe you would really enjoy it. And that's it. Check out the Discord. I'm going to put the link in the description. We're kind of growing that community. The Discord is the Stunt People Forum 2.0. I'm trying to get it going again. I'm trying to bring in action filmmakers and fans and all that to try and make some great action films. It's been a long time since we've had great action films. And I really want the indie community. I hope that the indie community is going to come together and start producing really cool stuff. I think it's happening. But I talk about the sci-fi stuff there, so come join us. Thanks.